Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1405. Today is a Words and Wisdom Wednesday, and my goal is to make you have a great day with some morsels of a thought of wisdom. Knowing what to do is wisdom. Knowing the right thing to do is wisdom. Knowing what to do is knowledge, but knowing the right thing to do is wisdom. And then doing it is virtue. So we're going to try to go into virtues on friendship today, page 312 in the Book of Virtues by William J. Bennett. And here we are, page 312. There we go. So we start off with Henry Van Dyke, a wayfaring song. Oh, who will walk a mile with me along life's merry way, a comrade, birth and full of glee, who dares to laugh out loud and free, and let his frolic fancy play, till thus that fill the field, oh, like a happy child through the flowers gay, that fill the field and fringe the way, where he walks a little with me, where he walks a mile with me. Hold on a second. And who will walk a mile with me along life's weary way? A friend whose heart has eyes to see the stars shine out o'er the darkening lea, L-E-A, and the quiet rest at the end o' the day. A friend who knows and dares to say the brave, sweet words that cheer the way, where he walks a mile with me. With such a comrade, such a friend, I fain would walk till journey's end, through summer sunshine, winter rain, and then farewell, we shall meet again. That was Henry Van Dyke. All right, so here's a little story. Actually, let me go over to where there's a poem, and then we'll end on the story. The Human Touch by Spencer Michael Free, Free. This, this poem, says Bennett, reminds us that the genuine friendship, this simple poem reminds us that genuine friendship is about the closeness of hands, hearts, and souls. It also, incidentally, captures the profundity of touch between Helen Keller and Anne Mansfield Sullivan. 'Tis the human touch in this world that counts, the touch of your hand and mine, which means far more to the fainting heart than shelter and bread and wine. For shelter is gone when the night is o'er, and bread lasts only a day. But the touch of the hand and the sound of the voice sing on in the soul always. Always. All right, so now we have her story. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan were friends. Says Bennett, there is no friendship more sacred than that between student and teacher. And one of the greatest of these was the friendship of Helen Keller, who was born in 1880 and died in 1968, and Anne Mansfield Sullivan, who was born in 1866 until 1936. Illness destroyed Helen Keller's sight and hearing when she was not yet 2 years old, leaving her cut off from the world. For nearly 5 years, she grew up, as she later described it, wild and unruly, giggling and chuckling to express pleasure, kicking, scratching, uttering the choked screams of the deaf mute to indicate the opposite. Anne Sullivan's arrival at the Kellers' Alabama home from the Perkins Institution for the Blind in Boston changed Helen's life. Sullivan herself had been half blind from an eye infection from which she never fully recovered. And she came to Helen with experience, unbending dedication, and love. Through the sense of touch, she was able to make contact with the young girl's mind, and within 3 years she had taught how to read Helen to read and write in Braille. By 16, Helen could speak well enough to go to preparatory school and college. She graduated cum laude from Radcliffe in 1904 and devoted the rest of her life to helping the blind and deafblind as her teacher had done. The two women continued their remarkable friendship until Anne's death. Helen wrote about Anne Mansfield's arrival in her autobiography, The Story of My Life. Now, cum laude means with praise. Uh, so Helen Keller's words are, the most important day I remember in all my life is the one on which my teacher, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, came to me. I am filled with wonder when I consider the immeasurable contrasts between the two lives which it connects. It was the 3rd of March, 1887, 3 months before I was 7 years old. On the afternoon of that eventful day, I stood on the porch, dumb, expectant. I guessed vaguely from my mother's signs and from the hurrying to and fro in the house that something unusual was about to happen, so I went to the door and waited on the steps. The afternoon sun penetrated the mass of honeysuckle that covered the porch and fell on my upturned face. My fingers lingered almost unconsciously on the familiar leaves and blossoms which had just come forth to greet the sweet southern spring. I did not know what the future held of marvel or surprise for me. Anger and bitterness had preyed upon me continually for weeks, and a deep languor had succeeded this passionate struggle. Have you ever been at sea in a dense fog when it seemed as if a tangible white darkness shut you in, and the great ship, tense and anxious, groped her way toward the shore with plummet and sounding line, and you waited, and you waited with beating heart for something to happen? I was like that ship before my education began, only I was without compass or sounding line, and had no way of knowing how near the harbor I was. Light! Give me light! Was the wordless cry of my soul, and the light of love shone on me in that very house. I felt approaching footsteps. I stretched out my hand, as I supposed, to my mother. Someone took it, and I was caught up and held close in the arms of her who had come to reveal all things to me, and more than all things else, to love me. The morning after my teacher came, she led me into her room and gave me a doll. The little blind children at the Perkins Institute had sent it, and Laura Bridgman had dressed it, but I did not know this until afterward. When I had played with it a little while, Miss Sullivan slowly spelled into my hand the word doll, D-O-L-L. I was at once interested in this finger play and tried to imitate it. When I finally succeeded in making the letters correctly, I was flushed with childish pleasure and pride. Running downstairs to my mother, I held up my hand and made the letters for doll. I did not know that I was spelling a word or even that words existed. I was simply making my fingers go in monkey-like imitation. In the days that followed, I learned to spell in this uncomprehending way a great many words, among them pin, hat, cap, and a few words like sit, stand, and walk. But my teacher had been with me several weeks before I understood that everything has a name. One day, while I was playing with my new doll, Miss Sullivan put my big rag doll into my lap, also spelled D-O-L-L, and tried to make me understand that D-O-L-L applied to both. Earlier in the day, we had a tussle over the words M-U-G and W-A-T-E-R. Miss Sullivan had tried to impress it upon me that M-U-G is mug and that W-A-T-E-R is water. But I persisted in confounding the two. In despair, she had dropped the subject for the time, only to renew it at the first opportunity. I became impatient at her repeated attempts, and seizing the new doll, I dashed it upon the floor. I was keenly delighted when I felt the fragments of the broken doll at my feet. Neither sorrow nor regret followed my passionate outburst. I had not loved the doll. In the still dark world in which I lived, there was no strong sentiment or tenderness. I felt my teacher sweep the fragments to one side of the hearth, and I had a sense of satisfaction that the cause of my discomfort was removed. She brought me my hat, and I knew I was going out into the warm sunshine. This thought, if a wordless sensation may be called a thought, made me hop and skip with pleasure. We walked down the path to the well house, attracted by the fragrance of the honeysuckle with which it was covered. Someone was drawing water, and my teacher placed my hand under the spout. As the cool stream gushed over one hand, she spelled into the other the word water, first slowly, then rapidly. I stood still, my whole attention fixed upon the motions of her fingers. Suddenly, I felt a misty consciousness as of something forgotten, a thrill of returning thought, and somehow my mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew then that WATER meant the wonderful cool something that was flowing over my hand. That living word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, joy, set it free. There were barriers still, it is true, but barriers that could in time be swept away. Let's take a look here. Hi, Miss Rose Cantara. Good morning, John Clark. I left the well house, eager to learn. Everything had a name, and each name gave birth to a new thought. As we returned to the house, every object which I touched seemed to quiver with life. That was because I saw everything with the strange new sight that had come to me. On entering the door, I remembered the doll I had broken. I felt my way to the hearth and picked up the pieces. I tried vainly to put them together. Then my eyes filled with tears, for I realized what I had done. And for the first time, I felt repentance and sorrow. I learned a great many new words that day. I do not remember what they all were, but I do know that mother, father, sister, teacher were among them. Words that were to make the world blossom for me, like Aaron's rod with flowers. It would have been difficult to find a happier child than I was as I lay in my crib at the close of the first that eventful day and lived over the joys it had brought me, and for the first time longed for a new day to come. This is about Helen Keller. Anne Mansfield, in her letters, described the miracle she saw taking place in Helen. Now, Anne Mansfield's words. March 20th, 1887. My heart is singing for joy this morning. A miracle has happened. The light of understanding has shone upon my little pupil's mind, and behold, all things are changed. The wild little creature of 2 weeks ago has been transformed into a gentle child. She is sitting by me as I write, her face serene and happy, crocheting a long red chain of Scotch wool. She learned the stitch this week and is very proud of the achievement. When she succeeded in making a chain that would reach across the room, she patted herself on the arm and put the first work of her hands lovingly against her cheek. She lets me kiss her now, and when she is in a particularly gentle mood, she will sit in my lap for a minute or two, but she does not return my caresses. The great step, the step that counts, has been taken. The little savage has learned her first lesson in obedience and finds the yoke easy. It now remains my pleasant task to direct and mold the beautiful intelligence that is beginning to stir in the child's soul. Already people remark the change in Helen. Her father looks in at us morning and evening as he goes to and from his office and sees her contentedly stringing her beads or making horizontal lines on her sewing card and exclaims, "How quiet she is." When I came, her movements were so insistent that one always felt there was something unnatural and almost weird about her. I have noticed also that she eats much less, a fact which troubles her father so much that he is anxious to get her home. He says she is homesick. I don't agree with him, but I suppose we shall have to leave our little bower very soon. Helen has learned several nouns this week. M.u.G. and M.i.l.k. have given her more trouble than other words. When she spells milk, she points to the mug, and when she spells mug, she makes the sign for pouring and drinking, which shows that she has confused the words. She has no idea yet that everything has a name. April 5th, 1887. I must write you a line this morning because something very important has happened. Helen has taken the second great step in her education. She has learned that everything has a name and that the manual alphabet is the key to everything she wants to know. In a previous letter, I think I wrote you that mug and milk had given Helen more trouble than all the rest. She confused the nouns with the verb drink. She didn't know the word for drink, but went through the pantomime of drinking whenever she spelled mug or milk. This morning, while she was washing, she wanted to know the name for water. When she wants to know the name of anything, she points to it and pats my hand. I spelled W-A-T-E-R and thought no more about it until after breakfast. Then it occurred to me that with the help of this new word, I might succeed in straightening out the mug milk difficulty. We went out to the pump house, and I made Helen hold her mug under the spout while I pumped. As the cold water gushed forth, filling the mug, I spelled W-A-T-E-R in Helen's free hand. The word coming so close upon the sensation of cold water over her hand seemed to startle her. She dropped the mug and stood as one transfixed. A new light came into her face. She spelled water several times. Then she dropped on the ground and asked for its name and pointed to the pump and the trellis. And suddenly, turning round, she asked for my name. My name. I spelled teacher. Just then the nurse brought Helen's little sister into the pump house, and Helen spelled baby and pointed to the nurse. All the way back to the house she was highly excited and learned the name of every object she touched, so that in a few hours she had added 30 words to her vocabulary. Here are some of them: door, open, shut, give, go, come, and a great many more. P.S. I didn't finish my letter in time to get it posted last night, so I shall add a line. Helen got up this morning like a radiant fairy. She has flitted from object to object, asking the name of everything and kissing me for very gladness. Last night, when I got in bed, she stole into my arms of her own accord and kissed me for the first time, and I thought my heart would burst, so full it was it of joy. So this was the teacher of Helen Keller, who came when Helen Keller was 3 months shy of her 7th birthday. And Helen starts to learn words and that there is a name to everything. Friendship is a thing that, as we have read in the poem, "'tis the human touch in the world that counts, the touch of your hand and mine, which means far more to the fainting heart than shelter and bread and wine. For shelter is gone when the night is o'er, and bread lasts only a day. But the touch of the hand and the sound of the voice sing on in the soul away. This was by Spencer Michael Free, The Human Touch. So here we go with friendship. And I want to say that in this book, William J. Bennett has chosen stories and poems to talk about compassion, different qualities of virtues. So let me put it out here in the Book of Virtues, a treasury of great moral stories. He has got self-discipline, compassion, responsibility, friendship, work, courage, perseverance, honesty, loyalty, faith, and then he's got acknowledgments and the index to the book. So this part we just read was from page 312 through 317, and it was on friendship. So that's all we have for today, and thank you for coming. And I have to mention that on Thursday, November 14th, I'll be reminding you along the way that my show will be 2 hours earlier than usual because I have to be in the hospital for an operation after the show. So it will be at 3:10 Pacific Standard Time. Currently, the USA is on Standard Time. So people who are on the Universal Time uh, uh, Commission, or what is it called? Universal Time Convention, Universal Time something. Anyway, UTC, whoever lives on, yes, November 14th, whoever lives on UTC time has to wait an extra hour than usual to see the show. Normally it was at, oh dear, I got it wrong. I have to reconnect it. It's 8 hours away now. So at 5:10, 5 plus 8 is 13. So it's actually, I have it wrong on the thing at the moment, but I will change it. It will be 13:10, which is normally at 1:10 in the afternoon, Universal Time, and in that time zone. And then it will be at 11 a.m. that day on November 4th. Okay, so I will talk to you again later. Thanks for coming. This is O. This is K. Let me do the alphabet. A, B, C. Oops. Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P is an upside down K, Q is an upside down G, R, S is a fist, T is up here, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So I is like this, Z is like this. Okay, so we'll talk to you later. Old Kinderhook.